Ooh, we're live. Good morning or
Yay!
afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Jennifer Spohr, and I'm here with Danielle Grant. And for those of you who may not know me, I actually support high achieving spiritual leaders in people that are ready to step into the next level of expansion in living their purpose and fulfilling their mission through their soul-led business. And Danielle is also with us. Danielle, share with us more about what you're up to.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. My name is Danielle Grant, and I previously used to coach high-level entrepreneurs and mindset, and I recently transitioned and actually moved away from doing that. And now I am a contributor and a collaborator for a company called the spiritualroom.co, and I support in the spiritual awakening from the beginning of your awakening journey all the way to those that are already awake and really looking to transcend further beyond the fifth dimension. And I'm just this contributing with the spiritualroom.co to support that in any capacity that I can.
Amazing. The work that you're doing is so needed, and everyone needs to check out the Spiritual Room. It's spiritualroom.co, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Cool. So today we are talking about the shadow side of personal development. And what can happen is, ultimately we're each responsible for our own growth, right? There's an element of personal responsibility when it comes to your evolution. But what is happening in the personal development industry, and next to no one is really talking about, is that you probably know that so many people are conditioned to go outside themselves to look for validation, right? To look for the answers to their perceived problems. And that there are so many teachings out in the personal development industry that are actually promoting this codependent dynamic. And that's really what we're here to bring more to light today. So I just would love to kick off the conversation with you, Danielle, to, get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think this is such an important topic. And I know this is one that you and I have spoke about that we felt really necessary to bring up because there are so many people that are in a codependent relationship with personal development. And that's actually my journey and how I got started was for 10 years, I studied personal development and was in it because I thought that was the solution to creating the life I wanted. And at the time I was really young. I was like 15, moving into 25 years old was kind of the time frame. And I was wanting to create more success for myself. And I thought personal development was a solution. And after doing that for 10 years and realizing actually I'm not any farther ahead, what is going on here? That's when I kind of turned on to this idea that there is this relationship in the personal development space of not actually giving you the final result you want, but just enough to keep you going. And I found it in such a perpetual loop. And when I started working with people, specifically as entrepreneurs, that was their biggest hangup was, well, I'm doing all the personal development stuff and I'm not where I want to be. And it's like, actually, yeah, you're in a relationship with personal development that is designed to keep you there. And it's really one that every person needs to look at. And this isn't to say that the personal development stuff is wrong or anything like that, but it's being aware to that codependent relationship that for so long that industry has facilitated for us. So from my perspective, it's really bringing the awareness to, oh, this is already in this arena of personal development. How do I still extract what I need in it, but not be dependent on it, which is kind of what brought us to this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And anyone who's on with us, please feel free to say hi and comment and let us know that you're here. There's so much that I want to unpack from what you just said. Going back to how so many of us are conditioned to believe that we need to look outside of ourselves for the solution and for the validation, just to provide some folks some more specific examples, right? And I also just want to preface this by saying someone who's listening to this might feel triggered by some of what we're bringing up today, and that's okay, and that's something to look at. But I want to use affirmations as an example. Affirmations can be a tremendously effective tool for growth, right? If they're used in the context of expansion. But what I see a lot in the industry for people who teach about affirmations is that, yes, you need to feel into it, like you're already embodying that part of yourself. But what I see missing a lot is the physical action piece. And I think affirmations are a great example of that. And saying affirmations can aid in shifting your mindset and can aid in your transformation. But if you're missing the element of anchoring who you want to be into physical action, then you can only get so far with that. And I actually have a term for it because it happens so often. I call it being stuck in a state of becoming.
Nice.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Or are there other examples that come to mind for you?
Yeah, I kind of wrote down a couple notes here because I've learned doing these live streams and podcasts. If you don't write stuff down, you forget.
Yes.
I just want to touch quickly on this idea of looking outside too. I think it's important to understand that one of the reasons why we're so quick to look outside, not only in the personal development space, but a lot of the religious aspects have also garnered this idea of looking outside. So someone might be listening to this who's maybe moving away from some of those concepts and ideologies within religion. And you'll find them very similar actually in the personal development space. So just highlighting that in case someone sees the similarity of why do we always have this need to look outside? It's been ingrained in us for lifetimes to look outside. So know that it's not just you. It's like a natural byproduct of what we're raised in. But I think to this idea of affirmations, like you said, you get stuck in this idea of becoming. Not enough of the personal development space helps you understand what affirmations do and what putting yourself in the place of seeing what you already want and then creating the affirmations to facilitate that becoming. There's not enough understanding how that works, which is why I think not enough people understand how to leverage affirmations. It's kind of this thing that's just in the personal development space and you do it. But when you don't understand what it's actually doing or how it actually works on like the affirmation side and creating that next level version of you, you don't show up the way to do it the right way. And I think that's one of the things the personal development space is missing. Do the affirmations, but do you understand why you're doing the affirmations more than anything, right? Do you understand that those words are allowing you to become that next level version of yourself? It's not just writing down something because someone told you to. It's writing down something because that allows you the ability to become that version of yourself. So I'm so glad you brought that up because this is one that we see all the time. People say, I'm doing my affirmations and my life isn't changing. Well, yeah, because you're not actually aligned with those affirmations. They're someone else's affirmations.
Exactly. Yes. I love that you bring that up. Customizing your affirmations to align with what your vision is and looking at how those affirmations align with the collective vision that you have, for what you want to achieve and who you want to be in your business and life. There is a very practical component of transformation, right? And that is ensuring that your mind, body, spirit, everything, mentally, spiritually, physically, all lines up with what you're looking to achieve. And I see that often as well, is that despite someone's best intentions, they might be doing the affirmations, or they might even be working with a coach or a mentor, but they're still not taking actions and setting goals that bring it all together.
Yeah. I think that really comes down to too, like this understanding and awareness that, the people that in our world might have and people that are awakening to the spiritual side of it is we're a spiritual being first and foremost. And so when we talk about this idea of personally developing yourself and not being in alignment with the affirmations, you're only developing a third of who you really are. You know what I mean? Like, or a half of who you are, which is the physical aspect. There's still this whole other aspect to you that the personal development and personal growth space doesn't even talk about. So you're only developing a half of you. And if you're not developing that half of you in alignment with the other half of you, which is what we're talking about with affirmations that are customized for you, then you're not really getting that momentum and that change. And then you're in that perpetual cycle, right? And that's something you see all the time in the personal growth space, is it's really only targeted to the human aspect. And that's kind of, I think, too, what stops people from looking beyond that, because it's just the personal growth is what fixes you. It's not understanding the personal growth paired with the spiritual understanding is what really creates the change, right?
Absolutely. I just have so much information coming in right now. I'm looking at how to arrange it. It's like, I'd love to just touch on, being someone who's a coach or a mentor or even a therapist, someone who's responsible for supporting others and contributing to their healing and their transformation. I believe that's a sacred responsibility that I take very seriously. And there are many people out there who specialize in certain areas of transformation and healing, right? And that's great. I also believe it's the responsibility of that person to, when they recognize that there might be a deeper need, to have, referral sources available that they're able to provide to their clients. And I'm going to say this, even in the spiritual community, that there is a scarcity mindset out there. We're like, oh, what if I refer people out? Am I taking away from my business? And for anyone who's feeling an element of that, I would just, suggest looking within on that, right? Because there's always enough. There's like, 8 billion people on the planet, right? And when you're clear on your why in the work that you're doing, none of that really matters, right? Because you're happy to have those referral sources available, and to recognize when someone may not be for you or aligned to work with you, and to be able to confidently send them to the direction of someone who is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this one is such a good one because, I even just recently reached out to you, Jennifer, and was like, hey, not enough spiritual people reach out because they're afraid that other spiritual people don't want this work. And that's kind of
Yeah.
that like the reason why I didn't stay in that place. And I was willing to invite people to the spiritual
Yeah.
community. And this is such a good one to talk about, because if we're talking about the coach and the mentor and the person that's in that place and they're in this scarcity mindset, and you think you're operating spiritually, you must know and understand that you're not, because you're not living in abundance. And it's not abundance of money, it's the abundant vibration of everything in your life. And as you
Mm-hmm.
awaken to the spiritual truth, you understand that that's available to you. It's your birthright to be extremely abundant. Therefore, there cannot be any scarcity. So if you're in that position and you find yourself there, it's almost a moment of like, oh, great, there's something I get to look into because I'm operating in scarcity, but I know better and I know there's abundance. But why am I not sitting in the abundance? Why am I not looking in the abundance? And most of that comes from the idea that people are too focused on abundance monetarily versus abundance of clients, abundance of joy, abundance of impact, like abundance of everything. And so that's more of a moment for me if I was a coach or a mentor and I've been in this experience before of like, why am I back in scarcity? Why am I back in the ego, the 3D reality? Why am I not operating in the 4 or 5D reality, in the abundant reality? And as a coach and a mentor, I have to check in with that. But that is also just showing people where they are at in their own evolution journey. But
Mm-hmm.
also, are you expanding what you know to be true about abundance, right? Because it's not just money. And when we don't expand it beyond money, we get stuck in seeing that the abundance of impact and abundance of clients will bring us the abundance of money and will shift us out of that place of there's not enough, I can't give referrals, like everything's got to be with like, it's only for me. It's like, well, no, you'll make more if you help other people anyways. That's the definition of abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I would just, if I didn't state it clearly earlier, is really, if someone is in that space energetically, to just step back and reflect and ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
One
Well,
of
I think,
the
sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say that, well, I think it's such an important thing to show this because I just shared that I reached out to you because
Mhm.
I wanted to let you know about my offer. What came out of that was not you enrolling in my offer, rather a further conversation to see how you could support the spiritual room. Now we're on this live stream talking about really high value stuff. That didn't if I stayed in that place of scarcity, I wouldn't have had these other things happen, which weren't the original thing that I reached out for. Right. So that's the thing that people need to realize is the thing that you are being
Yes.
scarcity about will typically bring you some greater thing that you want anyways, but you're afraid to even engage in it. So you can't see what's beyond it. And this is a perfect example of seeing that.
Exactly. And before I move on, I want to say, so Anthony Chambers has jumped on and said there's a complete internal ecosystem that often goes unaddressed. I love this conversation, yourinnerverse.com. Thank you, Anthony. And absolutely, this conversation is so needed right now. And a great segue from what you were just sharing, Danielle, is that we are living in a time where learning how to tune in to your inner guidance, to your soul's guidance, is no longer a nice to have. It is an absolute necessity in order to navigate your path forward in the time that we're living in. the old paradigm of how you're doing business and sales and showing up for people is over. I mean, the way forward is aligning with the reason why you're here, right? You know, living your purpose, which involves being aligned with your values and your beliefs. And for some of us, there's a more global mission here that we're meant to fulfill as part of why we're here as well. So it's just, I really can't put enough emphasis around how important it is for everyone to be willing to forge a deeper connection with themselves. And when you have a clear sense of self, everything else falls into place, right? Success and what that means for you is inevitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just even think about my own self, in that context. It's it's a gift to be able to know that we're in a place where we can awaken to this connection to our highest self, to our intuitive self, to tap into the path of least resistance. Like, it's a gift, but we're in such a place of not seeing it like that, that it's hard for people to recognize the gift that we're in. Like, for a long time, I don't know that we've really been able to have this closest conscious connection up until the last really couple decades, like as a conscious
Mm-hmm.
collective. And so that's the thing that people are waking up to. But instead of seeing it as this uncomfortable thing or thinking something that you're resistant to because you feel like you don't know anything about it, which is just the ego behavior, it's recognizing, oh, I have this new tool that's come online that I don't know about, I'm unsure about, let me explore it. And I think that's part of the thing too, is the personal development space doesn't encourage you to explore that side. Whereas all of us on this side are saying, explore that side, because then you become that version of yourself, because you become the energy of yourself. And to that note, I think a lot of people want to engage with people like you and I. A lot of people want to look at the stuff like Anthony's, your Innerverse. But what happens is there's such a reaction from the ego to stop you that you convince yourself out of the reason why you think you should hire that person or even look at their content. But it's important to have awareness that that's happening because you're actually going the right direction, and you're looking at something that is impacting the ego so much that it should indicate to you you should look in it, instead of sit in that place of uncomfortableness and I don't know what to do and talk yourself out of exploring that. I think it's important to bring that awareness up, because a lot of people want to engage in this new information, but they're hearing that inner voice tell them no, and they listen to that inner voice and then they don't explore it. So knowing that that reaction is normal, I think, is really important as people start to look and awaken and start to transcend in their life. What do you think about that?
I agree wholeheartedly. And I feel like, one of the steps to overcoming that, right, and embracing change with more ease and grace is, again, going back to just being able to tune into that inner voice. And so when you say inner voice, right, it's important for everyone to understand that your soul's guidance, your intuition, is not going to be fear-based. It's not going to try to keep you, safe or playing small, right? But your soul's guidance might instill a bit of fear in you because you've been conditioned to believe that you should fear change. There is so much inversion in our society that it would be a whole nother episode to talk about.
Yeah.
But change is a great example, right? We've all been conditioned to believe that we need to fear change when it's actually the opposite. Change is actually evolution. Change is to be embraced. Our souls, we are wired for expansion.
Yeah.
And so learning to just embrace, that fear, it's not that fear completely goes away, because that's part of the human experience. It's more about gaining awarenesses and learning how to move through it.
Yeah. And I even think about my own experience. Before I was an entrepreneur and I was just a person, in the corporate world, wanting to become the best version of myself. Every place that I feared, I was learning in the personal development books to, like, change your life and change your habits and do all these things. And whenever I would go up against that change or try to take action, then I didn't have the education or the awareness to move beyond that limitation. And so that's what was keeping me there. But once I had awareness to move beyond that limitation, what I personally found, and I'm sure you would as well, is when I faced that challenge in the eye, it actually gave me momentum. It actually moved me which is normal because you're making movement, but it moved me quicker than anything. Instead of just listening to the challenge or why it's difficult or the fear-based, it's exploring it and then recognizing a year later, whoa, I just changed my life so quick because I moved through that aspect of fear, or that aspect of thinking change was hard. So taking the time to
Yes.
actually sit down and look at it mattered more than the action I needed to take beyond it that got me the result. Because otherwise I was always sitting in this place of fear, and I started challenging it, and that's what actually collapsed the time for me.
Yeah, what you said about creating space is so important. And what happens when we feel fear, right? It's not just a mental thing. Our body actually constricts. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're spending more time in an energy of fear, you're actually repelling insights, solutions, repelling the very things that you're saying that you desire for your life. And I love that you brought up the creating space. For me, I've been at this for quite a few years now, not just in my business, but on my own personal journey. For me, meditation in the beginning was a tremendous gateway to opening up to receiving those insights. I know that you value meditation as well.
Yeah, and I'll even expand on that because I think a lot of people have a distortion of meditation. And again, kind of going in
Mm-hmm.
with how the personal development world has spun it. But meditation is not this place to seek no stress or to seek balance. It's a state and a space and a tool that allows you to consistently
Mm-hmm.
ascend and evolve into the highest aspect of yourself, and to realize that. And that very switch in your perception of meditation could change the way you show up for meditation, because you might be perceiving it like it's just about stress or balance or just this thing, but it's actually way greater than that. But that's also, again, one of the problems we're seeing is in the personal development space, there's not enough, hey, let's pair this really awesome information with meditation, this aspect that allows you to tap into the most, connected aspect of yourself and present
Mm-hmm.
aspect of yourself, and get the two of them working together. You don't see a lot of that. You see the
Yeah.
basic meditation and the de-stress and the de-balance, but it's not understanding it and then understanding why you're working that personal development thing or seeking that question or that clarity or the whatever in that state. And that's the thing that we're talking about today, is blending this other side that we're not seeing in the personal development space and showing you, if you actually looked at them together, you would get what you're wanting. You'd get the transformation that you're seeking. And I love that you brought up meditation, because so many people want to and they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony is saying oftentimes folks struggle with breaking out of the religious box. So true. And that could be another episode as well. He's saying tribal thinking, we must have the courage to be disliked and do you. So true. Again, another inversion, right? That it's
Mm-hmm.
selfish to put ourselves first. And it exists very prominently still in the personal development industry and the spiritual community, that being of service means servitude. And that is not
Mm-hmm.
true. By putting yourself first, you're actually expanding your capacity to be able to create more positive impact and give back in the world. I love that comment, Anthony. Thank you. There really are so many fear-based mindsets across various religions. I think, as a general rule, if you're being directed or taught about anything that is fear-based, that's an inversion.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a red flag to look for. Or if you're being taught something or told to do something, without the how behind it, that's another red flag too. I'd love to kind of switch up the conversation and speak a little bit on that, which we did touch on briefly earlier.
Yeah, Anthony says self-full. I love
Self-full, yeah.
it.
I love that. Um, it's just sharing with folks, how can they be discerning in who they're following, right? To move forward on their journey, and who they're actually investing in support with, because I think that is really important. What are your thoughts on that?
I have since, over the last few years of being a mentor and coach, changed my strategy around this. And I found the best way to be able to discern right for you and align for you, meaning that your higher self is most likely bringing the best path for you, is
Mm-hmm.
to ask more questions in your heart center. how am I feeling looking at this person? How do I feel with their content? How is this person making me feel? And just asking more of how is this person right now, who I haven't invested in or learned from, making me feel? And if there's any part of you wanting to judge them or anything like that, is that something for you to look into? Yes. But you might also be experiencing a moment where you're like, actually, when I ask myself that, I don't really align with this person. There's just something that I can't really get down with. And then you go to someone else and you ask the same question, and it's just like a heck yes, like I want to work with this person. I want this person's wisdom. But it's that simple question of like, how do I feel in this person's world? How do I feel here? Does this feel like I'm in the right place? Most people don't even ask themselves that question. They operate on emotion to investment, when often that's the fear based. I just need this to get the quickest result, instead
Well,
of
and
thinking, go ahead.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, no, and that's coming from the mental space. I love, love, love that you bring up the heart center, because the heart center is actually the intersection of the spiritual and the physical. So beyond what we touched on earlier about taking, anchoring what you're moving toward into physical action, it's feeling into your body, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, it's really feeling what is aligned for you. And a good indicator of that is that something should bring you excitement or joy, right? And or you might even have an indescribable feeling that you can't put words to, of you just know that it's the right thing for you to do. I love that you brought that up. That's so important. And with the age we're living in, someone else's Jennifer Standish is saying, if someone's content makes me feel bad about myself, I move on because that's their hook. Yes. I want to add to that and just say it is important for us to acknowledge how we're feeling about certain things, our negative energies or emotions, right? Because that's a necessary component to healing. And now, after I looked at that, I got off track of the other question. Oh, I wanted to say that the time that we're living in is very noisy. Okay, it's very noisy online. Technology can be a tremendous blessing, but at the same time, if you are spending more time in your mental space, it's very easy to potentially be influenced. Because everyone out there is, positioning themselves as an expert, right? And saying, my way is the way. And there are a lot of people that have a lot of amazing wisdom to share. But again, at the end of the day, you are really your own guru. And like you said before, just feeling into, does it feel aligned for you to connect with that person? So super important. And whatever information you're exposing yourself to, just taking what resonates and leaving the rest.
Yeah, and honestly, through that one question of being curious about the people that you might want to follow or invest in, you'll find more growth in your life naturally through that anyways, because now you're actually starting to ask more intentional questions, not only to the people that you are wanting to maybe follow and invest in or learn from, but you're finding yourself creating a mental feedback loop that will naturally start to question more things in your life, which ultimately leads you more to your heart center, because those questions are coming out of that heart center of like, I should become curious about this. I should challenge what I'm thinking right now. And that is like a beautiful byproduct of dropping into the heart center, just around, is this person aligned with me or not? So that one little thing yields such a big result in someone's life.
Absolutely. Anthony's commenting, due to the societal stupor that many are in, they need more of these conversations to become educated to this perspective. Yes, I refer to that as societal imprinting. Because there are so many people that just, you kind of don't know what you don't know. The thing is, is that there has to be a desire within yourself to know that there's something more for you, to know that you have, to feel like you may have more potential, and a desire to want to explore that. And there are more and more people waking up to that, which is really amazing. I mean, it's just such a blessing to actually be living it during this time right now, and potentially one of the most revolutionary times in history. I mean, I say potentially
Yeah.
because, I don't know. I don't remember all my past lives, but but I'm feeling like it's pretty damn big the time that we're living in right now. So, um, I know that we have to look at wrapping up. So I'd love to hear any other insights that you're being guided to bring forward.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm being guided towards, in this conversation that both Jennifer and Anthony are talking about, the way that we are able to see that someone's not for us is because we explore it more. The way that we're able to move beyond society perceptions and limitations that we have in our subconscious mind are us becoming curious about asking different questions. So if anything, what I want to share and what I've learned out of this kind of leg in the personal development is ask more questions, because that is actually what engages your higher self. That's what engages the intuitive aspect to deliver you some sort of response. But when we don't even ask the questions, we can't develop that relationship. And just to anyone, just become more curious about to those things that you're hearing inside. Ask more about those feelings that you're feeling, because that's the stuff that you are ultimately seeking that will work better for you anyways. And so that's kind of what I feel called to share last year.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I'm so glad that we connected the other day and this conversation came out of it. I feel like we really didn't even scratch the surface today. But this is a start, right?
Yep. It absolutely is. And there will be more conversations like this. People, even Anthony's talking about it. I'm in another mastermind I'm working on right now that is talking about this. So this is the shift is happening. The conversation is coming, and it might be just little breadcrumbs here and there, but soon you're going to see the wave of this shift and the awakening beyond what society has projected onto us. And it's just going to be beautiful.
More like a tsunami.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It's
yeah,
coming.
This has been awesome though.
It has. It's been awesome. I love our conversation so much. And thank you so much, Jennifer and Anthony, for engaging in the conversation. I love that. Thanks again, Danielle.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jennifer. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.